and give people a chance to join. And we're very excited to have Amy Rudy joining us today. So we're going to talk about how to grow your business, which I don't know about you guys, that's something I'm always interested in.
Yeah. Well, things have shifted for most of us, and there's some different approaches. So I'm going to share what I've learned, and hopefully there's one or two things you can put to work right after this phone call or right after this meeting.
Fantastic.
That's the idea.
All right, so while we're waiting, I just got to do a plug and we'll continue. Oh no, she just put it out in the chat, so which is great. Which is, if you guys haven't signed up yet, we actually have a really fun event on March 25th. It's an all-inclusive experience with women, wealth, whiskey, and wine. We're working on local curbside pickup. We're gonna have some whiskey. We're gonna have some wine, probably champagne that's gonna be included in that, and little bites. And so, little bites for everybody to share. And we'll kind of have a virtual party on March 25th. And so we're excited about that. And we're going to talk about women and money. We're going to have an open conversation about women and wealth, which is something we don't talk about enough. And how do we grow our own nest eggs, and what do we need to do to increase the value of our business and actually take money out of the business to help us for retirement and other things. Feel free to share with others.
All right, I think we're ready to get started. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Waskey. I'm president of NAWBO Kentucky, and we are so glad to have all of you here today for this amazing conversation that's so important. Amy Rudy is going to be talking about gaining ground and winning more business. So in this day and age, especially, that is so important. So many of us have had to pivot our businesses, figure out what works, what doesn't, and this is a great conversation to have. So I am going to have a few announcements here at the beginning. We're going to talk about some upcoming events, but first I want to thank all of our amazing corporate partners that we have. We have three amazing founding partners that support us continuously: Chase Bank, Spalding University, and Masonic Homes. And then our corporate partners are GLI, Abacus Louisville, TOPS Louisville, Chenault Solutions, MCM CPAs and Advisors, Today's Woman, PNC Bank, KCTCS, Harding, Szymanski and Company, Pella, Nest Community Marketing, Splendid Events, Simtech, Ameriprise Financial, Abney and Abney Associates, and Sinorama Downtown. So thank you again to all of our sponsors. We cannot do any of this without you. And I have an announcement to make about board members. We're actually in the process of recruiting new board members for the term that would start. It's a 2-year term. It would start July 1st of 2021. And we are looking for some amazing women to serve in the area of community engagement. And then also we're wanting to add a masterminds chair to the board to help us organize and grow the masterminds program. And then also an events chair to help us plan some of our larger events like our Epic Awards. And we're also just looking for some regular general awesome ladies that can help us consult or can help us on just general matters of running the organization. So if you're looking to get involved in an organization that helps women in our community, then this is the place for you. So, and if you're not interested, spread the word, because I'm sure you know somebody that might be. So we are also looking for to grow our committees and our ambassador program. So we have a link to both of those. We have a link for recruiting new board members, and then also a link for committee interest. And Amanda has put both of those links to our website in the chat. Are they in there, Amanda?
I'm going to add the ones for the forms right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Amanda. So please check that out. And then let's see, is Michelle on there's Michelle. Michelle, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. I am going to let Michelle talk about our new GROW program that's getting ready to start. She has been working diligently to get this program going for this year. So Michelle?
I am so excited to announce that we found our facilitator for the GROW program, Jenny Boyce. She is absolutely amazing. It's going to be a fantastic asset for us to be able to run this program. Jenny has worked with over 100 clients, taking them through their first year of business, basically from end to end and everything they need. And she is going to be joining us for Grow to do the amazing work that she does for NABO. So the Grow program is 7 face-to-face session, or actually we're doing a virtual sessions, half-day sessions over the course of 9 months that is geared towards women business owners in the first 1 to 2 years of business, or even that are planning to start their business. The sessions focus on building your brand, on marketing and sales, on strategic planning. And Jenny has the background experience to help really make that first year of business a success for these women. And then each session will be leveraging existing NABO members that have expertise in each one of these areas to come in and also just share their knowledge and expertise, just to really provide a community of support to help really build confidence and build knowledge to help drive and elevate success in that first year for women business owners. So we're working through recruitment now. We'll be sending out some information this week that will have information on how to register and more information about the program and how to get started. And we just love any support that you all have to spread the news about the program. If you know anybody that is in that first 1 to 2 years of business that you think could be that could benefit from the program, please connect them to me, and I'd love to share more information and get them involved.
Thank you, Michelle. And I believe Amanda put a link to that in the chat as well, information about the program.
I'm adding that right now.
Great, thank you so much. And then also, just a quick side note, if you want to get some information about everything from today's meeting, please put your email in the chat so we can share your contact information with those who participated, and make sure to send out all of some great follow-up information to you guys as well. Also, Michelle is also over our Masterminds program, and if you all are not familiar with Masterminds, really need to be. We have several mastermind groups. NABO helps to get you guys started, gives you the information you need, provides the structure, but the groups are run autonomously. But this is a great program. It changes your life once you join a good mastermind group. There's a few people here on the call that have been involved. So if you would like to get more information about that, please also contact Michelle. And we are putting some new groups together as we speak. So we are also currently in the middle of a membership drive. It's a spring membership drive. So it runs from March 1st through April 30th. And new members who join during this time will receive $45 off of their new member initiation fee. And then if you're a previous member of NABO and you want to rejoin, that reinstatement fee is waived during this time. And then they are also offering a discount on the next gen membership, which is if you are a current student or graduate student, or if you just recently graduated from college. There's another category of membership. It's normally $120 per year, and they are offering $45 off of that membership at this time. So for more information, you can check out the link, the NABO Nationals website for membership, and I think Amanda's going to also put a link in there.
It's up at the top, yes.
Perfect. And then also we are running a contest for new member referrals. So if you refer a new member and they join, then we're going to put you in put your name in the hat for a contest to win a new iPad. So the more members you refer, the more times your name gets added. So keep that in mind as well. And just a quick reminder, these are our Lunch and Learn series. We have those once a month. It's on the first Thursday of the month at 11:30. And then we also have our NABO networking meetup, which is on the third Thursday of the month at 4 p.m. And that is hosted by our very own Laura Leeton. She has some great conversations going in those meetings. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Linda. She's already mentioned our big event coming up on March 25th. So be sure to buy your tickets for that. We have limited seats, so get your tickets quickly. And Linda, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi. So welcome everybody. I'm so glad that everyone took time out of their day to kind of join us. And really excited to have Amy Rudy joining us today, who's going to help us gain ground and win more business, which I'm pretty open to and would love to learn how to do that more. And, you know, I remember seeing the first time I met Amy was several years ago at a women's conference, and she was presenting. And I was just blown away with some of her ideas and concepts about how to build the pipeline and how um, to actually hone in on your message and really hold yourself accountable. Amy has helped several members within NABO help grow their business and has an excellent track record of holding people accountable and pushing you to your limits from the standpoint of pushing you to the places where you can achieve, and kind of helping you to limit that self-limiting view. You know, Amy's company, it's called Impact Sales Systems and has been around since 2007. And as I mentioned, she resolves failed sales processes, helps remove the challenges and issues affecting results and your income. Previously, she had a software development firm and worked at Brown-Forman in the development of its merchant services division. Amy is really active all over town. She is well respected in so many different areas, including U of L's Family Business Center, where she facilitates a Next Gen Roundtable. She also works with One Southern Indiana and is a roundtable facilitator for the Metro Manufacturing Alliance, and is a member of the Community Foundation of Southern Indiana's Impact 100. She's a previous NABO board member, and she does a lot of speaking all around, not just here, but nationally. In the past year, she has seen her clients make some big moves, as she says, digging their heels into their commitment to thrive and execute on their detailed sales plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Amy and let her share and kind of get started. And Amy, I appreciate you coming today. I always get something out of every time I've sat in one of your sessions. Very inspiring. So thank you for taking the time out.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. All right, I'm going to share my screen now. This will do it. Do you see it? Or do you see your cameras, your screens?
We see
It looks great.
Okay. All right, so let me get a couple of things organized here and we'll get rolling so I can see everything. There we go. Slide this over. Had everything arranged until I unshared it. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thanks again for inviting me in, Linda and team. Thank you all for organizing this. You know, I've been looking forward to this. We've talked about it for some time. I kind of hesitated on putting the material together too early because things are changing so much. And I wanted to make sure that we had the newest, freshest, most current ideas to share with you. The good news is that since this is virtual, I don't have to point out where the restrooms are, the refreshments, so you're pretty much on your own. Y'all can handle that. But today we're going to talk about why now is the time to gain ground and win more business and grow. Sometimes people get into their headspace and they feel like they're fighting an uphill battle. It might be uphill, but every day is a battle if we're going to grow and we're going to win more business. You know, it's kind of like if growing a business wasn't hard enough. You know, last year we all got served a great big old plate of holy cow, but some of us found our wings last year and decided that we're going to become entrepreneurs. So all of us experienced probably one of the most dramatic changes in our business careers. We know that, you know, the adages that say, you know, every time a door closes, right, a window opens, or every cloud has a, right? We get it. These things are truths, but sometimes we can't see the answers because the answers are in a different place than we know to look. So today I'm going to help you identify some new ways of looking at opportunities. I want you to come out of here feeling stronger and with more tools. So this discussion, I'm open to questions. Linda, if you tell me to, you know, be quiet. I'd much rather take a question than present what I have so that it's as relevant as possible. Don't hesitate to interrupt. Okay, so this is probably my new mantra. This DM isn't going to carpe itself, right? Seize the day, well, it's not going to seize itself. So we're operating in a new and evolving environment. Most businesses have made changes in the past year. Some of those changes are going to stick and stay. Some have created weaknesses that they're going to struggle to recover from. Nearly all are thinking differently. And so, beg your pardon. So, boy, that bounced pretty good. So, when I say something like nearly all people are thinking differently, the really smart business owners right now are thinking different. Thinking differently is a different way of thinking. Thinking different is thinking of something else. So today, I want you all to think different. Last year, early last year, about this time last year, I was heavily focused on war room and building a war room, who should be in your war room, and how to operate that way. If you built one, it should stay in your business and always be part of how you grow and develop. So none of those things should have been a temporary fix. So this DM isn't going to carpe itself. I think it's a sub-paragraph of Girl Straighten Your Crown. So here we go. Okay, here's what we're not going to talk about today. We're not going to talk about how to win by dropping prices. We're not going to talk about how customers and prospects, are less available or aren't calling back. They're, shortcut on that. They're not going to call you. The third thing is we're not going to talk about the fact that things have slowed down or whatever. And we're definitely not going to talk about anything that starts with the word hopefully, because we're not going to build our business based on that. I get to deal with a lot of different salespeople. Some of them are clients, some of them are, working in other businesses. But salespeople who in the past felt like they were better face-to-face, raced to setting an appointment with someone because they were better face-to-face, like to do pop-ins. I have a whole story about a dude said, Amy, I don't know when I'm going to get to start delivering donuts again. I'm like, you're never gonna deliver donuts ever again. Nobody's gonna let you in the door just to deliver donuts. So, but people that were depending on their T&E budget or trade shows alone to generate leads are in real trouble. So today I'm going to share with you some access areas, ways around access, but also some different ways to look at your business. Let's see. Yep, it's working. All right, so today we're going to hit 4 areas. One is we're going to take a new look at growth. And there's a level of detail in here that I'm hoping shines a bright light on how much growth you can actually achieve right now, maybe beyond what you might have expected. Number 2, we're going to talk about competition. They are creating prospects for you every day. We're going to talk about how to identify those things. Number 3 is we're going to talk about being prepared for growth. So not having to react to it because it'll leave as fast as it comes. And then the 4th thing is if there's some keys to helping you gain access to new business owners, decision makers, and those folks, some new approaches to that. So the first piece here, I want you to consider how do you start on the right foot? So the question is that you should ask yourself and dig into what changes did you make in your 2021 forecasting, in the method, what changes did you make based on 2020 performance? The reason I ask it that way is it's not unusual for some people to look at last year's performance and say, I want to grow by 10%, so they multiply it times 110%, and that's their new forecast. Well, I wouldn't advise anybody to take 2020 as what they want 2021 to look like. So it gives us a new opportunity to perhaps, yes, Miss Karen, you're muted. Okay, we're good. All right, so new ways to look at where that growth can come from and break it down. I want to give you a little bit more details, but I can tell you that it's not unusual for me to find holes in folks' planning and in their forecasts. They focus on an overarching number as opposed to detail. So I want to share with you the following. Just consider these sections of your forecast. Not proportions here, but to look at it. So if we looked at my plan for this year to grow to be $1 million, okay, there are 5 sections where that business is going to come from. Part of it is going to be continuing year over year. It's existing business. It's where I know my client well enough. What percentage of that is going to continue? The next is very specifically, I'm talking account level understanding of where the expansion is going to come from. Which of these existing clients are going to add new products, add new services, pick up a new project? Now, in each one of these pie sections, I would like you to have a number and a dollar value of cases. So it's not just what proportion of your revenue. I want to know how many starts and stops you're going to have, how many customers you're going to have to service. So numbers and dollars in each one of these. So we've got year over year, what's going to continue as is, what's going to expand inside those clients. For some of us, we've sold things that don't start producing revenue until later. Automotive, sometimes it's a couple of years out. But if it's already sold but not yet producing, I want that to stand on its own. The next piece is carry over what's already in the pipeline that I have more than 85% confidence on it closing and me winning. So the last piece is really what's remaining is what now has to come from brand new business, leads I haven't generated yet. The reason I want you all to break this down into each of these sections is because each one of these requires a different behavior. I have to generate a lead for new business. I'm servicing an existing account. I have to have an interview, a purposeful interview to talk to my existing clients to see who's planning to grow this year, what do those projects look like, and what should my involvement be. So since each one of those has a different behavior, I'd like you to track the success of each one of those things. Now, one thing I have found is that that new business section sometimes freaks people out because I don't know where it's going to come from. But if I know how much new business I brought on last year and what activities generated that, it's amazing how that number doesn't really change that much year over year. If I generated $200,000 of new business last year, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to do that again. And if I start to look at what my activities were, my participation, speaking engagements or participation with some of my strategic partners who can produce more, I can get very specific on how to make that area, that behavior even more effective. So I can actually go from 200K to maybe confidently 250 or 300K because I know where it's going to come from. So I encourage you to have both dollars and numbers in each one of these sections. Now, because each one of these have different behaviors, some of you have heard me talk before about that scary thing of I want to grow by 10%, so they want to go from $1 million to 1.1. But what isn't often considered is attrition. And if on average, depending on your type of business, but many businesses will experience a 15% attrition rate, meaning 15% of your clients will either go away, get sold, work with somebody else, projects finish, whatever. But if I want to grow by 10%, guess what my sales plan has to be? 25, right? So 25%, that also means that I'm going to have to onboard 25% more clients. I'm going to have to offload. Sometimes there's a cost and there's resources required to offload a client by retraining people or moving inventory or whatever. So if attrition is not built into your plan, you may fall short or you may be surprised at how much energy drain there is in the company to accommodate that growth. Now, last week, end of February, we were at 16% of the year. At the end of March, we'll be at 25%. End of January, we were at 8%. So while sometimes the revenue doesn't show itself this early in the year to know for sure we're on track, right? I should still be at 8% of the quotes I'm going to write, or 16% of the quotes I'm going to write. I should be at 16% of the leads I'm going to generate. I should be at 16% of the strategic partner meetings I'm going to have. I should have You see what I'm saying? So by breaking this down, it's easier for us to identify what are the behaviors and the activities. So if you're not detailing that today, I highly encourage you to get to this level of detail. Okay. This has been another major focus. I believe that we can win on the hill. And so as you can see in the picture, it's a cycling reference, a racing cycling reference. It is hard to make up ground going downhill. Everybody's they've got gravity working for them, right? So pick a line, don't fall off your bike, and everybody pretty well, there's not a lot of jockeying that's happening going downhill. Even on flat, that's kind of really a resting area. Racers win on the hill because they know how to climb and outpace, maneuver their competition. People who know how to win on the hill, which we're all on the same hill, but the ones with the most grit, the most determination, the strongest mindset, the better tools, I'll give you a better bike can help, but at the end of the day, it really does come down to heart. And it comes down to being prepared to stand in the saddle, stand up and pedal hard. There are no water breaks on the hill. We good? You can sleep later. So, but everybody's facing the same obstacles. You know, the fact is many of our competitors are struggling, okay? Some of them aren't gonna make it. And that may be true of some of our customers and some of our suppliers. We have to have a handle on understanding, are they thriving, surviving, or are they collapsing in the middle of this change? But the fact is we can pick up market share, we can pick up wallet share within our existing customers, and the fact is the compelling reason for them to change or buy from us has probably moved. And we have to make the adjustment to understand what they need from us, need us to be for them now. Okay, let's see. Now, if now is the time for us to gain ground, guess what else it could be the time for us to do? Lose ground. So by actively knowing more about our competition, being prepared to work harder at it, it's a cycle we're in right now. It's the uphill cycle. We have to be prepared to protect the ground we've gained and continue to look at the next and the next and the next. If you're competitive at all and you weren't in the front of the pack, you were staring down the one in front of you and you picked them off, and then you looked at the next one and you picked them off. And you knew, if you know your competition well enough, you know where their weak points are, right? Or the things they're creating. So winning on the hill is strategic. It's aggressive. It takes total commitment. As I said, you can sleep later. So that's a headspace. Here's why some of your competitors may not survive. They may have been overly reliant on certain customers who are just buying less. They don't know how to open new business. They might have poor leadership. They might have inefficient or had low tech adoption. They might have started this time last year being cash strapped to begin with. They might generally make bad decisions. They might be operating with a broken pricing model. Now, I want you to self-check to make sure you're not having these issues, but the fact is, this event in the past year, this new style of operating, it's really just sped up the process of weaker companies getting themselves out of the way. I hope that doesn't sound terribly callous, but what we know is that businesses do not go out of business with zero revenue. They go out of business with not enough revenue to support their structure. And so sometimes we'll see competition will start to fire customers or focus on certain ones, and it creates a service issue that makes it easier for me to pick up their customer base. I don't have to compete on price. I have to go out and figure out what's the hole my competition is creating. And that at the end of the day, our salespeople are the front line on this information. Do they know why people are taking their calls? What's the real compelling reason to change? We should be addressing that, collecting that information, and figuring it out. All right, so also consider that you want to know this about your customers to see if their competition is creeping up on them. You want to know about your suppliers to know whether they're struggling, so that you're not caught behind somebody else's problem. Okay, so competition. Here's the question I'd ask you to take a look at, right? Sometimes some projects got kicked down the road in 2020. They got kicked into 2021. Some people left the field. Their sales teams, I talked to a number of salespeople, and they got put on the line in their business. They weren't selling. They were put, I mean, we're talking calloused hands on the line, working to produce. That's the most expensive line worker you'll ever find. Or in some cases, they got furloughed. Would you be uncomfortable if you knew that your biggest customer stopped selling in the past 6 months? I would be. So take a look, right? What specifically can you or are you leveraging now against competition to pick up business? As I said before, businesses don't go out of business with zero revenue. They go where they have shrunk enough that they can't sustain it. So there are clients out there unhappily settled into your competition. Go get them. It's hand-to-hand combat. Second to that is, are you preparing your operations and your teams for these increases? If we're going to bring on that much volume, are my teams ready for it? Do they have a mindset for growth? Do they understand? Have we been both transparent and frequent in our communications so they understand what their part is in this growth and how aggressive we're prepared to be? I have I talked to a sales guy the other day, and they're starting to have to quote longer lead times, longer scheduling time. So instead of getting something done in 2 or 3 days, they're now having to quote it 5 or 6 days out. Their customers are going to have to wait longer. And his headspace was, well, for right now, we are going to have to deal with it this way. And the mindset of for right now is so frightening to me, because the growth he's experiencing is exactly as we planned it. He is never going to be smaller than he is today. He is bigger than he was yesterday. This time next month, this 4-day problem is going to turn into a 7-day, 8-day, 9-day problem, right? This is job number one, is to not lose the ground. He's giving his competition an edge because he's having to push more days in there. Does that make sense? So take a look of what strengths you've created in the past year, what weaknesses you might have created, and similarly, make sure you're interviewing your prospects in such a way of, so what's changed? Why is now a good time for us to be talking? Understand the problems they're asking you to solve. They might have shifted. I asked a group of salespeople not too long ago, what's the number one thing your competitor could do that would create a prospect for you? What's the number one thing your competition could do that would create a prospect for you? And the answers were missed deadlines, 2 was quality issues, and the third one was missing dates. So missing the commitments. One was quoting longer lead times, and the other was quality issues. There was a fourth one in there, and that was they had a customer come to them because they felt like they had actually been lied to, which is beyond the pale. But did you notice that raising prices wasn't anywhere in what these salespeople were concerned about? It was about the performance of what they're selling. So to take a look, is competition quoting longer lead times or greater delays, or are they missing some quality issues? Because they've cut so deep into their own organization, they're starting to miss things. I would much rather compete on those 3 issues than I would on pricing. Okay, now, don't be prepared to win. Don't just be prepared to win. I want you to be prepared to be the winner, because the winner has work to do. The win, you get to wave the trophy. We got one today. But be prepared to be the winner. You got to have confidence that you're going to be able to handle the volume of work, preparing for those volumes, providing tooling and training for your folks. Make sure your suppliers are ready. Do your suppliers know that other pie chart that said how much new business is going to come on board, what kind of demands you're facing, how quickly you need to be able to turn things around. So we know that revenue affects every area of the business. It's going to, new revenue coming in is going to affect HR, it's going to affect operations, it's going to affect sales, of course, it's going to affect shipping and delivery. Every area of the business is going to be affected by revenue. And sometimes I find that the rest of the organization has not been prepared for growth. So what's happening is they're in a firefight and they think it's a temporary situation. They weren't as intentional about growing. So, what could affect your raw goods, your supply, your capacity, those types of things, because they will otherwise become a bottleneck. Okay, all right, so that one's good. So now we're into gaining access. So we talked about, do you know what you're chasing and what's that forecast really look like? What's the types of business we're going after? How much do we need to replace that's going to go away? And then what's going to be net growth? We talked about understanding that our competition is creating prospects for us every day. Every day they don't have the same level of courage you do. If they haven't done the preparation, if they don't have the commitment, if they're not managing even their staff's expectations, they're creating prospects for you. Now we're going to get into, so how do we get access to folks? So please realize that what used to work may no longer work. Walk-ins, trade shows, other types of things about generating or gaining access to people. What used to work may no longer be relevant. They don't take questions that way. It may not be the same issue we used to solve for them. They're looking at it from a different lens. And maybe, just maybe, what used to work really wasn't working that well, but it was what we were comfortable with, and it's possible. So this has given us an opportunity to think different about how and where we can gain access to people. So there's 3 areas that I would like you to focus on. What do your customers need now? Because if your customers need faster response, more creative ideas, they need you to participate in some kind of a board planning or forecasting. They might need you to provide a different level of training that's now tracked. What do they need from you now? What are you providing them now? Is an indication of a new problem they're facing, which means your prospects are probably also facing those same issues. So take a deeper dive into what your customers need from you now and make sure that that's the conversation. So there's likely a change in the compelling reason people are buying from you. So your language should change as well. It could also be that their priorities have changed. What used to be a priority for them, for your customers or prospects, has slid down the list. It's no longer quite as important because they've got communication breakdowns that's now taking a brand new priority. Or inventory levels, or the fact that they are quoting 4 and 5 days instead of 1 or 2 days. Their priorities may have changed, so rethink how you communicate with them. That will give you better access. And then the last is their change in access. Again, people aren't just walking in. I don't believe that Zoom fatigue should be a thing. I hear it, I don't agree. I am on it all day, every day. But every single one of those meetings have a compelling reason to be on there. We get stuff done. There's not a lot of small talk unless somebody just really wants to. But people will have a Zoom meeting with you if there's a compelling reason, a problem to solve. But if it's just to check in or, hey, how you doing, or just wanted to see what's up, nobody has time for those things. And they might have tolerated them in the past because they could get past it quickly. That's the case. So if you're finding that, well, let's just say I would recommend that every meeting you have, as often as possible, ask them to either use FaceTime or Zoom or something to where you can still have this part of the interaction. And when you're setting up that appointment, make it an expectation that cameras will be on. Can they find a place in their work area where they can turn on their cameras? I don't care if they're working from home and their kids are running around. I don't care, right? I get it. cat in the screen, that's another thing, but that's, I'm not a cat. But, we're asking that people behave professionally, but give them a chance. This interaction, I think, is still very, very important. But to know, what are your customers facing now? How are they making decisions? With a distributed workforce, decision making has changed in an organization. What all will go into their decision, who's involved in them, and how they make them. So confirm with your existing clients, has it shifted? Because it's probably affecting their either their competition similarly or new prospects for you similarly. Ask them what mistakes their competitors are making. How are they gaining access for new business? What's their opportunity to leverage? Maybe you can be part of giving them a stronger stance on attracting new business, not just being part of their deliverable. So guess how you get this information, right? You got to ask. And we have to have meaningful meetings with our customers. And that may be a change for some of us. My customers know I'm here. If they need me, they'll call me. They have no hesitation to call me if they need me. We might need to flip that switch and actively make sure we're having meaningful meetings with people to give them fresh ideas. Ask them what they're seeing now. Things are shifting so fast, and will continue to operate that way. We should be aware of those things. So rethink how you're going after access. It's probably going to be a change in language, and introductions are gold. And so I did have another word in there. There was an adjective about the phone, but it's hand-to-hand combat. So pick up the phone to make phone calls, and don't just leave a message that says, hey, doing a check-in, how you doing, just checking on you, whatever. That's the stuff people don't have time for. I would rather you start a compelling conversation that says, I wanted to share what we're seeing. I wanted to share what we just learned, see if that applies to you. People will take a phone call if you're going to enrich them with new information. So don't call to check in, call to share what you've seen, share what you've learned. I was thinking about you yesterday, and there's this question on the top of my head. I felt like I needed to pick up the phone and see whether you. So when I tell you and leave you a voicemail, or when I first get a hold of you and I say, Karen, I thought I'd pick up the phone and call you, hopefully she feels a little complimented by that, because not everybody will pick up the daggone phone. So there's no check-ins, and there's no just wanted to see. And if I haven't mentioned it lately, email is the sandbox of the devil. So people are getting a ton of volume in there, and pick up the daggone phone. Email's a great delivery of what we just discussed, some points to qualify, but it is a terrible conversation starter. It's terribly one-sided, and I don't know if it just got buried. So pick up the daggone phone. People will answer an important phone call. Now, when you, we're doing great on time. If you have to leave a voicemail, I'm not a fan of voicemails, but it's better than nothing. I would rather you attempt 3 times. Like, I've got a list here of 10 people I need to call. Boom, 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 back to the top, boom, 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 boom. 3 passes at that list before I stop this calling session. Now, many of us don't like making phone calls because it's a big black curly-tailed dragon we got to stick up next to our ear, and it's going to breathe fire on us. But the fact is, if we can overcome that, right, and just knuckle down that for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to dial these 10 names. I'm not leaving messages in between. If they're sitting in their office and they see me call 3 times, maybe they'll answer. But my guess is they're getting a cup of coffee, or they're making a potty stop, or whatever the heck else. I have a shot, and I need to know when folks are typically available. So to make those 3 attempts and then leave a message with a compelling reason. Hey Linda, it's Amy Rudy at Impact Sales Systems. I wanted to share with you some of what we're seeing. See if that's affecting you as well. I'll call you today at 2 o'clock. If there's a better time to reach you, here's my cell. Feel free to switch it up. And then at 2 o'clock, ladies, you got to be on that daggone phone. And so please don't say, call me when you can. Because they won't. And they're not even, right, it is. And don't tell them that you're going to try to call them later today. Don't. I will call you at 2 o'clock. show your level of commitment, and then they can decide whether they're going to be available at 2 o'clock. I'm giving them an out. If there's a better time or number, here's my cell. Okay? So watch for those very small grip changes that make a tremendous difference on how we approach an opportunity. And I'm not even opposed to texting folks that says, I just called your office or just left you a message. I'll talk to you at 2 o'clock. I'm okay with people texting me. So, because they're not always in that office anymore. All right, so who answers the phone? Show of hands, how many of you all sell? When the phone rings, do you answer it? Yes, because salespeople answer the phone. So, if you're struggling with access, figure out what kind of relationship your salespeople or you have with your customers' salespeople. If you're struggling to gain access, so, and it's not to work around their system, I'm going to talk to their salespeople to figure out, what are you guys seeing? What are you targeting today? What kind of volume are you anticipating? What's competition look like these days? It's going to give me better insight to how the customer is performing, maybe some of what they're facing. If the salesperson says, man, we are killing it, I can't keep up with the number of inbound calls we've got going on right now. Am I prepared to help them at that level? Or they could say, well, things are slow as molasses. I don't know what we're going to do next. Well, tell me whose door you're trying to get in, and let's see what we can do about it. Because I need them to grow, because it directly affects me. So consider these questions. What shifts, if any, do you need to make based on your customers' production? If they've got a shift in production, how is that affecting your operation? It means you probably have to interview them to get to that information. What shifts did they make in it, right? So depending on who your key contact is, just don't miss the opportunity of better understanding who their salespeople are and what they're facing. Because again, if it's happening to your customer, it's probably also happening to your prospects. What are they looking to sell? Are they expanding their lines? It may not affect your deliverable, but it does affect your customer. It might affect their priorities. And I can tell you, I do get nervous when I know that people have pulled their salespeople in out of the field. Okay, so ways to gain access. Introductions are going to be our key. End of story, right? So the use of LinkedIn to understand who do your customers rely on when they're making tough decisions. Your customer would gladly introduce you to their advisor, gladly introduce you to whoever's doing their custodial work, gladly introduce you to whoever does their auto glass or whatever for their fleet. Because it's an easy, no-cost way to help you out. But those are the introductions you might want to gain access to that auto glass dealer's customers, right? So figure out who those strategically aligned businesses are and see if your customers can't introduce you to the people they rely on and trust. And when I pick up the phone and I say, Amanda, this is Amy Rudy, your client Linda Ruffinack suggested I give you a call. She's going to take my call, right? I can even reach out to a dentist and say, one of your patients suggested I reach out to you. They're going to at least listen. So, but again, it's share what we're seeing. You're looking for supplier introductions, but examine the level of relationship you have with your customers' salespeople, because that should help you develop more and more leads. All right. So who can open a door? You shouldn't. That was not rhetorical. Who can open a door for you? Who is it? Right? Who opened doors for you last year or used to? And the question is, who can open a door? Do they know how? Or do they know how to now? Right? They used to want to put you around the same lunch table. We're not doing that right now, right? So do they know how? When was the last time you asked, who would benefit from a conversation with me? When's the last time you asked a customer, a strategic partner, a peer business down the hallway? When was the last time you asked them who would benefit from a conversation with me? And then ask them, how would you introduce me if you thought I might be able to solve a problem? Inspect, do they know how to introduce you? because I don't want anybody introducing Karen that she'll do a great job with their books. They already have somebody doing their books. How does Karen need to be introduced? And that's on Karen to teach me. Now, what I want you to stop doing is stop telling them how to introduce you once you've told them twice. They're not learning it, okay? Stop telling them how, and don't expect them to remember if you've only told them once, okay? But stop telling them and ask them how they would introduce you, and then adjust what they're already prepared to do. And if they're close, leave it alone. If they're way off base, you got work to do. They're not ready to introduce you to anyone. So I'm hoping that makes sense to you, but stop telling them over and over and over and over, big long-winded, or please don't provide them a script. I don't want them to read a script to someone, number one. Number two, they're not going to read it. And number three, the worst thing is they're going to use that sandbox of the devil, and they're going to forward the email to somebody with the words you wrote. Don't do it. All right. But inspect it and see if they get it. If they don't, tweak it. So review the last 15 meetings you've had. So go back in your calendar, easiest place to look, I know, and see if in those meetings you made the active effort to use that development. Who would benefit from a conversation with me? Did you put it in your customer meetings, in past client meetings, in strategic partners or peer meetings? Did you ask, who do you think might benefit from a conversation with me? Not who needs my help, who's going to buy from me. I'm not asking them to sell from me. I'm asking who they think would benefit from a conversation. There's some important language in there. Yeah. Okay. So decide now, what are you going to do differently? And if you don't, what's going to happen? And the answer to those two questions to me is you just stood up in the saddle on your bike and you're deciding that you're going to start pedaling harder. So what I'm going to do differently might be I am going to pick up the phone, or I'm going to put that question at the end of at least 60% of my conversations. Who do you think I should have a conversation with? Or who do you think would benefit from a conversation? It could be, you know, one of the ways I grow my business is through introductions, and we've really never talked about that. Could we talk about that now? Add a selling effort into the communication. It's hard enough to gain access. You've got access. Take the opportunity to leverage it. All right. Feeling totally victorious that I did not overrun my time, because that is not my skill set. I'm open to questions. I can unhide this or go back to a slide if anybody would like me to. So unmute yourselves and tell me what's going on.
I'll go. Hey, Amy.
Hey.
So I was, as I was listening, it's interesting. Some of my clients because I work with a lot of them in pharma right now, and a lot of them have been taken out of the field and they're being put back into the field now. Slowly but surely they're back. But what's interesting, and it just feels so foreign, is that last week I did a leadership training, and they're talking about how a lot of the reps are having trouble now cold calling because they have to do that now. You know what I mean? They never had to do that before. There was relationships established. They were in there, lunches, you know, whatever, you know. Yep. And it's just amazing listening to this, because I thought to myself, wow, in a lot of ways, even the big companies, because of COVID, are going back full circle to these phone calls. Yep. They're having to make. They didn't used to ever do that. So you look at the generation now that's out there selling, they're not used to cold calling, and now they're having to go back and do that. And it was like, I wouldn't honestly even know how to help them.
Well, and that's the fact, is that if people are having to sell differently, as leaders, we have to help them learn how to do it. So don't just assume they know how, or don't have a fear level that will be crippling to them, or have a belief system that it's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, they're leaving. There's some of them leaving because they don't want to do that. So.
So I don't really have a question, but I just want to make a comment for all of you here. I've worked with Amy. I had a client that was literally on their last leg and they were asking help. How do I need to do this? And so I sent Amy their way. And you can't even believe the turnaround. So if you have someone that thinks they can't afford to take on someone like Amy and her expertise, you know, that is probably the worst thought for someone to have, because she can turn things around for you to where, you know, she becomes very affordable. So this is really good information, and it has made such a difference for one of my clients.
Wow, thanks, Karen. Thank you. I love working with people that are compelled to change, and because I work with businesses like ours,
Right.
you know, our house is in it, our retirement's in it, our kids' education. So I get to have people's attention when they do want my help, and so it's quite rewarding.
Well, he loves you, so thank you.
Thanks. He doesn't love me every day, but all in all, he really does love me. Yeah. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Amy. I think this has been a great presentation, especially in an environment where, as Laura said, it's very difficult to prospect, and the way we do business is so different nowadays. So definitely bringing value when we make that phone call makes a huge difference. And I appreciate that you're sharing the way you do it, because even though I've been in sales or in service for so many years, I still kind of struggle with the prospecting. Plus, the conversion with prospecting is not always as timely as we want, because it takes a couple of calls before, you know, we can convert a prospect to a client, or we can really build let's say a basic level relationship with a client. So, and I've taken a lot of notes, you know, so like really appreciate the way you structure that message when you're telling on a message that you're going to share what's new with your company, or what's new that will benefit your prospect. Another thing that I love is it's very important when we're asking for referrals to really, as you said, to have that person who's going to refer you to others understand what's the value that you bring to the table, and kind of like educate that people to, in a way, to have a good value statement when they're talking about you. And I know you mentioned it cannot be a script, but it should be something that I guess that the person who's referring you has to really understand that is the value that you bring to the table. So thank you very much for your nuggets here.
You're welcome. And to that point, Benny, is that if you can tell me what you think I do and the value I bring organically, it's just coming out of your head. You're not having to look at bullet points or a script. That means you're way more likely to recognize when somebody would benefit from a conversation or that introduction. So that's our opportunity to inspect. Is unplanned, might be, Sharon, if you were going to introduce me, kind of what would that sound like, if you don't mind me asking? And if she's fumbling for words, I haven't equipped her, right? Yeah. So could we talk about that? Another thing that you mentioned, Benny, is that when you're talking to your clients, ask them, so what do you need next? I've gotten to know a number of people, and I've relied on them in a lot of ways. If I can make an introduction for you guys, I'd be happy to. So what's top of the plate? What are you solving for these days? And whether that's somebody solving for benefits or developing staffing or new customers or whatever, we know people to make that introduction. So don't leave that meeting without some way of extending those relationships. Access is the biggest challenge most people are complaining about. We have access to people, and then we hang up the phone and we did not further the access. We might have developed the relationship, but we didn't do anything to be able to start from our toes. We're back on our heels of trying to knock down a concrete wall. So ask your clients what else you can do for them. It doesn't have to be what you're selling today. And then they'll start to rely on you for all their questions. Go ahead.
No, that's awesome. One thing that I've also learned, and you just mentioned it, like when there are things that differentiate you from the competitors, it's also important to mention that in that call. So I guess that it makes you more valuable when you're different or you have something different to offer that will definitely benefit the prospect that you are approaching.
Yeah. And thank you, Benny. And so sometimes that's your conversation starter. You know, I've been talking to a number of business owners, and many of them are telling me that they're trying to figure out what's the right move on when they should be investing their capital. I mean, what did you guys decide to do? So share with them, without naming names, the issues that you've been talking to other business owners about, and ask them, have you guys already solved that? It may be a problem they didn't even know they had or that they could talk to you about, but you get that understanding the problems you're solving. It's not about your deliverable. It's not about features and benefits. All features and benefits are only considered a feature or a benefit if it fixes something, right? So quit talking about features and benefits and start talking about the problems you're fixing, because I think your prospects are going to know that they're standing in the middle of that problem well before they know that you're the solution, and that your feature and benefit would solve. Okay? All right. Throw me another one.
Hey, Amy, I have a question.
Sure.
And thank you so much. This has been amazing. I've been listening to every word. Can you elaborate a little bit more for a company? You know, a lot of companies have had to kind of reorganize a little bit, think about what we're doing, what we're providing, you know, what value are we providing our clients, what services that we're providing are actually making us money or profitable, and where we're losing money. Can you elaborate a little bit on the process to get started, to just basically evaluate all the products and services you're offering, and you know how to move forward with that process, whether you have to fire clients or just stop providing certain services, that type of thing?
So I think there's several layers to that. One is I'm going to call up Karen and I'm going to say, where am I making money? But I have to know what it costs for me to produce those services, Sarah. And sometimes people don't have a true handle on what it costs to operate the business, number one. So understand where we make money and how we make money. Two is interview our clients to figure out what they need from us right now, what has shifted. If we're not attracting enough new business, we're not winning business, people aren't buying things from us, new relationships, I'm not prepared to let go of things until I know for sure that I'm no longer relevant. So is it an effort that I've failed in, or am I really no longer relevant? So those interviews are crucial. And if I picked up the phone and said, Sarah, I could really use your help. Could we spend about 30 minutes next week? I'm facing some challenges and I'd really value your opinion. Right? You can get access. Oh, so you're not going to call and sell me anything? Nope, I need your brain. And they'll give it to you. Right? So to ask your customers, people who didn't buy from you. So there's another piece, Sarah, because I'm trying to formulate what you're asking, but I also believe in things called an opportunity chart. So imagine an opportunity chart are all the different goods and services I might offer, maybe categorized, but maybe even at a detail level. And then I'm going to have my list of customers, and I'm going to see which customers are buying which things. And then my plan around expansion is, can they buy more of what they're already buying, or are these other services things I just haven't introduced to them yet? Does that help? So
yeah, absolutely.
That's in that expansion part of the pie. Go ahead.
No, that absolutely helps. And I think, you know, I work for a public accounting firm, and one of our big issues is we offer so many services.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, you know, there's been a lot of talk about whether you should be more of a niche firm and kind of just, you know, target only certain types of customers, you know, or whether you should only provide certain services. And that's been a hard decision for a lot of firms to make, because giving up that revenue of potential new clients. So what have you thought about that, about whether you really focus or if you're, you know, stay more broad?
So there's I have an additional thought, and I would turn that over to Linda and Laura too to answer this particular question. But you also have to look at your resources, because if I'm overstretching resources and we're not great at anything, but we're pretty good at a lot of things, I would start to pare things down to where am I great, where can I attract or elevate talent, Where can I engage my talent where they're going to be excited about engaging with customers? Where's my competitor failing to provide the level or caliber? And that's where I'm going to be.
It's funny that you're mentioning that, Amy, because I immediately thought about that. Like, Sarah, how good is your company about all those services that they offer in order to really scale on those that are the most profitable ones, and then decide if your company needs to grow and then hire more people, have more talent, you know, building up that capability, because that's what you see that other companies that are similar to yours or bigger have done in the past. And that's why they've grown to the point that they are, you know, the big ones, even the local bigger ones.
Yeah, and I'll share with you one of the exercises I just went through with one of my clients, which they were riddled with opportunity. I mean, it was like everybody was calling them up and they did not want to say no to anything, right? And so they had all this opportunity, and when you looked at it, it was just chaos. And so what we did is we went through an exercise to create gates on the products that they're selling, which is, first of all, like, do we have the resources to execute this? Am I going to have to invest in technology? Like, here are the technology options I have today. Am I going to have to invest, or am I going to be able to use what I have? And anytime you had to look to do something new or invest in something new, it was a stopping point in the gate that said, you know what, I'm not going to move forward until I figure out how I'm going to solve this, because that's going to pull away from everything else that I'm doing. And then there was also an exercise we went through to look at profitability and see, is the juice worth the squeeze? And vetting out and taking particular clients through this process and really digging deep and understanding what types of clients do you like to work with? Which type of clients do you not like to work with? And it's just being honest on the ones that are real pain in the rear. Why are they a pain in the rear? Is it a personality thing? That's one thing. But is it the type of work that you're doing? And start to kind of clarify what those things are. And then it starts to clear up the picture where you kind of got a way to kind of nail that down. Now, the one thing we've added is I actually bring in a graphic illustrator to help do that. So you actually end up with a full kind of filter piece that kind of comes along with it. But it just takes time to step back and think and start to apply those filters. And it takes discipline, because it's really hard to say no to a customer.
Yep.
It's really hard.
You can partner with somebody, so you don't have to say no. Partner with somebody who is great at that piece of it. And as long as you're not stomping on each other's toes, it's a nice, friendly relationship. So, thanks, Linda. So one thought on that is that if you have not sat down lately and examined the vision of where your company is going, what it's going to look like 3, 4, 5 years from now, and not just a new revenue number, that makes me bonkers. I want to know, what is FutureCo? Just what's the vision of it? But how does it operate? Who's making decisions? What kind of demands are the customers going to have? Is it more of same, or is it a bigger, more complex customer? So not just where we're going, but how is that company going to operate? Because now I've got a gap. I've got the way we're operating in these facets today and how we're going to need to, and that's my development path for every single person and every role involved in the business. So sometimes, Sarah, that can help figure it out, that this is becoming less relevant. Artificial intelligence is a serious threat to a lot of revenue in your space, right? I don't say that tax returns are going to produce themselves, but it's no longer what the people that don't have advisory in their firm are going to really take some revenue hits here in the next couple of years, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes.
So, and you're hiring something different to hire an advisor than you are for somebody that can do by the rules prep work. So,
right. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks. Any other questions or thoughts? Sarah, one last thing. Bring in outside thinking to those things. I'm sure Linda would agree, that find people that can think outside the box and let them just jab it with some fresh ideas, fresh thinking, and then that might help your all's wheels get out of the tracks that have been laid so deeply. Think different.
Well, Amy, I can't thank you enough for your time and kind of what great tips. And I think, several people reiterated. I mean, I actually myself have like 4 pages of notes,
Wow.
that I put down just kind of thinking about and capturing some of the thoughts. And And the scripting part is incredibly helpful, at least having like that guideline, because making cold calls for myself is like the hardest thing. Even if I've got a relationship, I always feel like I'm imposing on people. And so it's really hard to get over, but you've given me a way to really think about that. So thank you very much. So if anybody else, if there's no more questions, what I'd like to do is I want to turn it over to Sharon Johnson. And Sharon has some great information that she'd like to share about all of the things going on with PPP loans right now and how they're going to impact a lot of our businesses and what to think about and what to consider. So Sharon, let me turn it over to you.
Okay, I just want to first thank Amy. Oh my God, thank you so much for that wealth of information, because small businesses, if you don't really have a plan like she's told and laid it out, then we will not be successful. And thank you for that. And Linda, thank you for that. Give me a little time to talk about what we're doing here at SBA. I did want to mention that the Biden-Harris administration has several reforms to the PPP loan for small businesses. And I want to make sure that our communities understand what's going on and get and take advantage of these programs. They've kind of had a 14-day instituted a 14-day period for small businesses that have less than 20 employees to be able to get these PPP loans. What that means is that bankers stopped doing business with their clients, and they went ahead and targeted those businesses, which usually are mom and pops or those who are less than 20 employees, to get funding. And that's so important that our communities know about this information. And with that being said, you know, the first bullet is people are small businesses that are less than 20 employees. And they also have actually put out a new reform enabling sole proprietors, independent contractors, self-employed individuals, which consists of, you know, businesses that have home repair contractors, beauticians, small independent retailers, and some of those make up 70% of our businesses. And the new thing as well is restrictions for anybody with a prior fraud conviction from obtaining a PPP loan can now do that. But again, you have to meet certain criteria for that as well. But I do want to mention that's new. Additionally, you know, we have now so many people have taken on so much debt with student loans, and they actually have started a business. So with that being said, another thing that the Biden-Harris administration has done, eliminated business owners who are delinquent on their student loans to apply for a PPP loan. That is new. And the last ensure access for non-citizens, small business owners who are lawful U.S. citizens by clarifying that they may use their tax identification number to apply for relief. So I just wanted to real briefly kind of go through what we have with SBA, making sure that our women small businesses know about what's out there in our communities and make sure that they do apply for these loans if need be. And keep your fingers crossed, more is coming. So, you know, I try to, you know, give information to NABO as soon as I get it. And if you have any questions at all, or if you're interested in PP loans, or if you need to find a lender, give me a call and or an email. That would work out, because our goal is to make sure that our communities at large know what's going on. And if you don't need it, please share the information with other business owners out there in our communities to take advantage of these programs. Thank you, Linda, for that.
Sorry, I put myself on mute and couldn't get off mute. So Sharon, thank you so much for that information. And it's definitely something, you know, being a sole proprietor, it's really good to have that information and know that I can go out there and look at that, because I've kind of written off the PPP loans because of that. So, all right. Well, any other questions from anybody?
I was just going to add, so Amy, what's the best way for everyone to contact you if they have more questions or want to use you for, I mean, they would be stupid not to engage your services right now, but.
Well, thanks a million, and there you go. Did I share my screen?
Thank you.
My cell is always best. It's 987-4244. I'd be happy to talk to you if you're in a pickle. I'll help you any way I can. If there's something that for us to work on long term, we'll figure that out. But if you just are stuck, give me a call.
Well, thank you. And thank everybody else for joining us today. So once again, just a reminder, we have the event on March 25th. Tickets are available. And Amanda, if you can post that link one more time out there, they're going to be available on Eventbrite. And there should be a link on the NAVO website as well. So thank you guys for today and have a great rest of the week.
Yeah, everyone take this great lunch and learn and find someone to join. Membership drive.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It was a great lunch and learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, ladies.
Thank you. Bye-bye. You all take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.